Let me state this clearly, colleagues. I have never met with or had any conversation with any Russians or any foreign officials concerning any type of interference with any campaign or election in the United States.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions in the hot seat today before the committee investigating Russian interference. Testimony wrapped up just about an hour ago.
Sources tell CBS News Sessions agreed to testify after hearing fired FBI Director James Comey's testimony last week. CBS 21's Mola Lenghi reports from Capitol Hill.
That a fresh start at the FBI was probably the best thing.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions repeatedly defended his decision to recommend the president fire FBI Director James Comey, despite the fact he had recused himself from being involved in the Russia investigation. But his refusal to answer some questions frustrated some senators.
Did you ever discuss Director Comey's FBI handling of the Russia investigations with the president or anyone else?
Senator Feinstein, that would call for a communication between the Attorney General and the President, and I'm not able to comment on that.
And now you're not answering questions. You're impeding this investigation.
And he admitted to possibly having a brief encounter with the Russian ambassador at the Mayflower Hotel on April 27th.
I could say that I possibly had a meeting, but I still do not recall it.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions' hearing comes after a friend of President Trump's said the president is considering firing special counsel investigator Robert Mueller. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein reminded lawmakers that he, not the president, is the one with the power to fire Mueller.
If President Trump ordered you to fire the special counsel, what would you do?
Well, Senator, I'm not going to follow any orders unless I believe those are lawful and appropriate orders.
Sessions says he is confident in Mr. Mueller's ability to independently conduct the investigation. Mola Lenghi for CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And our CBS 21 political insiders are here to break this down for us. Tony May on the Democratic side, Charlie Giroux on the Republican side. Guys, good to have you back.
First, we want to start with how does this hearing compare in terms of significance to the Comey hearing that we heard last week?
Well, the hype over these, Lara, is incredible. The actual substance, maybe not so much. But what you did hear today was General Sessions very passionately and aggressively pushing back on the notion that there was any impropriety in anything he had done. He'd had meetings with Russian officials, but they had not been any form of collusion or improper activity. That's an important point that he made.
Tony, what was your take on his opening statement there? We just heard part of it.
Well, I thought it covered the points that he needed to make, but like anything in these big, drawn-out hearings, it isn't that the original offense turns out to be the crime. It's the incrimination that comes along as you try to describe and try to explain. And there are things that we probably haven't noticed that he said today that we go back and look at the transcripts maybe 2 months from now. We'll see that he incriminated himself. I mean, I think personally the topic of the most interest is, did he or why was he involved in the firing of James Comey if he recused himself?
I know that came up also, Charlie.
And he was very forthright in his explanation there. He said, I recused myself with respect to the investigation, not with respect to running the Department of Justice. And that's his responsibility constitutionally, and he's fulfilling it.
But now because the acting Attorney General hired Mueller, the rumors of him being let go.
That's a separate question altogether.
It's a separate question.
Yeah, separate question.
They would be up to the acting Attorney General.
Well, separate but interrelated. He runs the department or he doesn't run the department. He recused himself or he didn't recuse himself. I mean, it's more difficult than you're describing it, Charlie.
What happens now? Where do we go from here? What's the next step in all of these hearings and all of these investigations kind of going on at the same time?
Well, I think the Mueller investigation is really where it is going to ultimately come down to. And the Mueller folks are now sending smoke signals that it's going to be concluded much more quickly than normal investigations of this type are. I think that would be a good thing for the country because getting the facts on the table, I think, is paramount here.
How quick is quick?
Well, I think we've got a couple of months here yet, because then I think the important thing is not what members of the administration or the future administration met with Boris Kislyak, whatever his name is, because I think he's a red herring. He's put out there to be a shill and to make people suspicious, when the real work was going on the computer systems of our state election bureaus.
Okay, there was some criticism from the Democratic side today that this is taking away attention from what's going on, what should be going on in Congress, such as health care. But there's also criticism, Charlie, from the Democrats saying that the Republicans are going to push through health care real quick this week while all this distraction.
Well, I guess they don't get it both ways, do they? I'm hoping that the Congress can get in gear and get a replacement for Obamacare, real tax reform, and the infrastructure plan that will strengthen our highways and bridges and transportation system throughout this country. That's the trifecta for the Trump administration.
Charlie's right, but what he's also describing is a recipe for disaster. If Obamacare is replaced and not replaced with a superior plan, it's going to be a disaster in the short term for 25 million Americans and in the long term for the Republican Party trying to defend it.
Replacing Obamacare with something better won't be that tough.
All right, thank you guys. We will watch for more. Remember to join us for Face the State Sunday mornings at 8:30 right here on CBS 21.